YouTube, I'm David Boucher, and welcome to day 147 of my 6-month life transformation chronicle. I hope you're having a great weekend, and if you're in the US, this is Memorial Day weekend, so we get an extra day, and I hope that your Memorial Day weekend is going well. So in terms of what today's video will be like, I think it's going to be relatively short because there's no kind of deep insight here. It's more of just a recap of something I've recently gotten into, although I will sort of tie it back to some general trends. And so the general trend, I feel like, since probably the last 5-6 weeks, I think I've really started to hit my stride. And so all of these things that I wanted to do and I thought would happen by taking this big leap back in December have happened. So things have snowballed, and I feel better about how things are going, and so I feel better about the things I take on, and I'm more motivated to take those things on. And so things just start to snowball, which is great because it means that things are going as I had hoped they would when I left my job, which is I would come out of this 6 months having learned some things about myself, having made some improvements, and ultimately just being in a better spot. And so what that's crystallized into is the last couple weeks I've fallen really deeply into researching, and you're gonna laugh here, but the emulator community around classic video games. So for those who don't know, there is a very healthy community built around playing old video games. And I mentioned a few weeks back that I bought a retro Super Nintendo, and it sounds dumb because I definitely don't play a lot of video games anymore. They're fun, but if I go longer than 10 or 15 minutes, I feel like I could have been doing something else, which is not to put down the hobby, I just have other priorities. But what really interests me is the building aspect of it, because obviously this has to run on certain computer hardware, so in this case it's Raspberry Pi. And then the building aspect of what that's fit into, right? So people build these huge elaborate arcade cabinets. They've built these self-contained controllers that have everything in them required to play the game. So you just plug the controller into a TV and you can play. So there's a very heavy creative and engineering aspect to this, which really attracts me to it. And even though I don't play the games anymore, I have very strong nostalgic feelings around them. And so in my head, I've been trying to research ways of how can I actually build something that looks attractive and that lets me build something, right? So again, it's not, I'm not going to get rich off of this, and you might be scratching your head like, well, why is he wasting his time doing it? Well, I feel like it's because I have the time to devote to it now because I've got a much better work-life balance. I've got the mental energy to focus to it, and also it's just kind of a logical way of tying in all of these things I've dabbled in. The big change for me is that whereas before I would take on these new initiatives and think, okay, I need to make money off of this. I need to get done as quickly as possible so I can sell something. And that's not how this works. That just leads to frustration, and it really goes counter. Well, everyone always says, you shouldn't do something for the money, you should just do it because you love it. And now that I'm in a spot where I make money doing something that I'm happy with, that lets me just focus on the journey rather than the end goal for this particular hobby. So I get to tie in all these things I've learned before. I get to build something, but I also have the patience now to tell myself this is not going to turn out perfectly your first time. It's probably going to take 5, 6, 7, 100 attempts, right? But if you just treat this as a hobby, because as I talked about a few weeks ago, I'm free to have a hobby now. If it's just treated as a hobby, the progress will get there, and I just need to enjoy the journey. So I don't think that in this series of videos I'll get to show you the finished product, but after day 180 comes around, I'll transition to more of just my general interest videos, and hopefully if you're subscribed, you'll get to see what the first finished product looks like. So that's the goal. It's not to make money. It's not to get rich off of this. It's just to finish this project I have in my head. So I've got a very crystallized project in my head, and I just want to bring that to fruition, and then afterwards we'll see. So if I had to sum up the video, it would be, again, just a summary of everything I've talked about before, which is it's totally okay to have non-monetary hobbies. You're much better off actually if you don't always think I'm going to make money off of this, and just keep trying to keep building things, keep learning new things, and don't be afraid to jump in if something seems interesting to you. So with that said, if you are on Memorial Day weekend, you have another extra day, why not research a new project? Head over to the hardware store if it's open, pick up a couple things, and maybe even build something. And If you're not in the US and it's not Memorial Day for you, you still got probably a good 10-12 hours left in your weekend to get going on that. So with that said, I will leave you and I will check back with you on day 154 next Sunday. Thank you so much.